Hi, this is James Zhang with Old Capital, and I am here with Wes Racht to go through a new deal. So, Wes, thanks for jumping on. We're going to talk through this deal, Arbitraris, but before we do, maybe give a little background to the audience about you and your team.
Yeah, James, thanks for having me. Always love doing What's the Deal with you. Always get great exposure. So our team is, I'm part of Fuel and Hoover, Marcus and Millichap. We're actually now a 19-person team. We brought on another gentleman this week. But we cover everywhere from Oklahoma, New Mexico, Louisiana, even down to south of San Antonio right now. We have 2 listings down there. So we cover a lot of ground here in DFW. I started with the team in 2018. I specialize in DFW, the 4 major counties, 76 units and greater, up to about 450. That's the lane I stay in workforce housing. So more details on our listings and our team, you can go to our website. Right now we have about 20 deals on the market.
All right, let's jump into this deal, Arbitraris in Arlington. Maybe we'll just start out with where this deal sits sort of in the Metroplex.
Yeah, so this was a great aerial. You couldn't ask for a better location. This past 2 years has just been really favorable for Arlington. Whether it was during COVID and the World Series was playing and the Rangers weren't in the World Series, Arlington did well because the stadiums were open, the ballparks were open. It's just a market that's very solid because it's situated between Dallas and Fort Worth. You could take 20, you could take 30, and be in both downtown metroplexes within a half hour. And it allows people to commute. And the schools system there are solid as well. This past 2 years, we've sold over 10 deals, over 2,000 units. So Arlington has been a very strong market for buyers throughout the pandemic, and it's continued to show signs of being resilient. This is a great slide. You'll see all the major employers so close to Arbitraris, the freeways, 360, 30, just a really solid location.
All right, so let's jump into this deal. So here's some pictures of the exterior.
You forgot the conference last week, James.
Oh, we want to talk about, so yeah, we had our conference over.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've updated. I think it's called Globe Life Field is the one we had. So we need to update our slide here. That's where we had our conference, and then we had it over at Texas Live. So I mean, the amount of entertainment that we have at this in this little pocket is phenomenal. And then you have the hospitals and the schools. So I think you have a diverse amount of employment, and it allows people to get anywhere pretty quickly.
Yeah, you can see from the rooftop, you can easily see the stadium.
Yeah. So maybe talk about the exterior of the property and sort of what the seller has done so far on this property.
Yeah, so the seller has spent a lot of money, and you'll see that in the CapEx, in the OM, and in the slides that James has. But the biggest portion that he's put into the property is the mansard roofs and the chiller system. As a new buyer, those are 2 items that aren't going to make you any money. Tenants don't pay more for new roofs. Chillers are always a headache to replace because they're so dang expensive. But the sellers have done a very nice job. They've gone with top of the line chiller system, 2 carrier chillers, brand new mansard roofing replaced last month. And the flat roofs, they show well, they perform well. But overall, when you walk the property, the consensus is the sellers have taken care of the property. Whether it's painting the siding, hardy, you name it, they have done a very good job in taking care of a 1969 property.
Yeah, and I mean the property, I don't really have a good aerial of it in this picture, but it really, like, when you look at it, it sort of has good visibility on sort of the east-west street right in front of it. And then that, I don't know what the traffic count in front of it is, probably 20,000 cars at least that go by the property every day.
And here's the thing about it is that most people would just love to have one street that has that kind of traffic. This property actually has 2 streets, Pioneer and Arkansas, both box in the property. And so you're getting traffic from on both sides of the property, which is why the marketing budget is so low. They don't need their amount of drive-by traffic organically is, you don't need to invest in other types of marketing because it's just organic.
Right. And then, okay, so let's talk about the overall property, unit mix, and sort of where rents are today?
Yeah. So where rents are today, I would say is very it's increasing over 10%. In part of the slide deck, you'll see that on the trade outs, the last 10 leases, they've been able to get over 10% over previous leases on all trade outs, whether that's renewals, new leases, you name it, they are easily hitting 10%. I'm looking on one of my deal sheets, and just from year over year, one of it has a 19.7% increase on a renewal, almost 20%. So that tells me two things. Number one, tenants want to stay at the property, and they don't mind paying the extra fee because they see the value of being at this property, which is really nice to see when tenants have a lot of options. Going in back to the unit mix, one of the more favorable aspects of this property is its majority 2 bedrooms. You don't see that typically. And so when you have a property that has good square footage, majority 2 bedrooms, you're always able to have a longer term tenant base because they don't want to move. It's typically families. So when you're looking and underwriting this property, look at the CapEx that's here on the bottom right. Look at all the money the seller spent. They would have spent more money, but because they were getting their rent premiums during COVID, they wanted to keep the property full. They didn't. So there's more meat on the bone for the next guy to continue the value add program. They've only done 23 out of the 146. So you have a lot of opportunity to continue what they've started as a good track record for you to continue and finish.
All right, so here's some pictures of the interior. So is this considered more of their upgraded unit, what they've done in terms of maybe countertops and backsplash and flooring?
So flooring has already been done between this owner and the previous owner. So that's something that that's one of the reasons why our CapEx on this is so low, because that item's been taken care of across the property. Of course, you're going to have replacements when people live in it and they live in it hard. So, but for the most part, every unit already has the vinyl plank, whether it's a brown tone or a gray tone. The biggest change is, like you mentioned, the granite, the backsplash, the black appliances. We did underwrite every appliance being replaced, but something that's worth noting is over half of the appliances have been replaced during this owner's hold, and they are all black. More than half of them are black. So that's a big deal because you're going to be able to save money and not having to replace more than half of the appliances in the property. Something else that's neat is this property is individual water heater. Properties this age are typically boiler chiller. And so you typically have, a boiler on the property. What is neat is because this is individual water heater, the winter storm did not affect this property. They kept electricity on, water was on. And so their amount of leaks and the amount of busts they had were minimal compared to other properties because of the individual water heater system.
All right, so every buyer is going to ask, like, okay, so where's the upside in this deal? So maybe talk through where you think a new buyer's rehab budget should go into.
Yeah, this one's easy. Other deals, like we're pushing everything to get it done. What's nice about this property is you just have to look within the property for your business plan. You're not having to stretch out and push rent or push and pull from another property to get your income. You just have to look at the property within and continue the business plan, which is really nice. And so the biggest chunk is going to be the continuing the unit update program. Throughout, we're budgeting $4,000. Again, that's for granite, backsplash, appliances, lighting fixtures, and some nominal things that you're going to be doing. Install washer dryer connections. This is because it's individual water heater, very simple to do, especially in the 2 bedrooms. The 2 bedrooms, the hallways have 3 closets. So you could use one of those 3 for a potential washer dryer connections. Add cover parking spaces, simple. We see this across most of our properties that don't have it. I would say because of a conference I went to last week called the Interface Conference, you should add more than 30, just because you already have 146 units. And with this being a majority 2 bedrooms, typically when developers are budgeting parking, they do one parking space per unit. So if you use that logic, there is not enough covered parking, there's not enough parking. So you could be a little more aggressive on those 30 covered parking spaces. The reserve parking, they're already getting 35 on the uncovered reserve. So 25 we put in there, but they're already getting 35 at 18 spaces when you walk in. Lease storage units. This is interesting because the property does not have any storage units on the balconies or patios that tenants actually need a place to put any extra items they have. The units were built very efficiently, so there wasn't a lot of extra space. So the property already has 12, but over the tours I've done, I've identified another 10 spaces where you could add another 2 or 3 lockers or storage units easily.
So all these changes, you're looking total cost about 650,000, and then you're improving your NOI, your revenue by about 250,000, just with those costs and improvements. So building that into your pro forma, you're looking at about $5 million in new value created. So when you're looking at, the top line item that's driving most of this is that premium.
Yeah.
Talk about the rent comps in this market and maybe 1 or 2 that you think are the best comps that are sort of getting those pro forma rents now.
Yeah, so I would definitely say the Mirage is a great competitor here. It's right down the street. Just head east, maybe 1,000 feet or 1,000 yards, and you're there. And when you're looking at at rent comps, you're just looking within the property. You don't need to look any further. You could also look at Springfield Crossing, Cooper Park. There are other good rent comps, but I would say there's nothing truer when you can look at a property itself, looking at the rent roll and seeing they're getting the rents. But if you wanted to, you could always use other comps as well. One thing I will mention on the value creation that we didn't add that the owner has done is they have converted some of the 2 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms. In this, by them doing this, they are getting $1,275. And you were doing nothing more than adding a wall and a door. And if you were to come out to the property, you could see that easily, how simple it is to get another $100 a month in rent.
So right now you're projecting like 11 to 1,200, but you're thinking it might push to 1,250, 1,300 if you're able to get a 3-bed in there.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, you'll see on the current rent roll, they're already getting 1185 on the updated units. And there's no pushback. So pro forma rent, you add another $40, you're going to get that because you can look at other 2 bedrooms like Mirage, much smaller square footage, they're getting it. But if you just look at the property itself on the rent roll, you'll see that on their trade outs, they're getting that amount as well.
All right. Okay. So you come in, you do some CapEx, you improve the pro forma rents. Like, tell me how that translates to, your pro forma, maybe year 1, year 2.
Yeah. So one thing that we do is we focus on our business plan over 2 years. We realize that it's very difficult to accomplish 100% of your business plan in 1 year. So we actually spread it out over 2 years. So really the number that we focus on is year 2 effective gross income. So when looking at that number, you're going to see 13% increase year over year with the value add program. Majority of the top line or income is driving this, but there are also a couple other opportunities to decrease expenses. The owners have redone a trash contract, which will bring expenses down significantly. Payroll can be brought down as well. So there are other items you've highlighted payroll, but also the contract services that can be brought down as well. So when looking at this, looking at the NOI, you're seeing the increases in year 1, year 2, and then they kind of table off year 3, which is perfect if you're doing bridge.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they're coming in trying to buy deals right now, and, the in-place cap, it might be, 2 or 3 on some of these deals based on the price that you're taking. And, where this deal sits, what's the occupancy now?
98.6.
98.6. Okay.
Yeah, it's just,
so,
and the only reason why is because the only units vacant is the studio or is the model.
model. Okay.
So
All right. Yeah.
again, I mean, that tells me that again, they're still below market. You should really be around 95%. And so if they're at 98, you know there's still room to grow.
Okay, that's perfect. All right, so do you have a whisper price on this deal yet?
Yeah. So for new debt, we're looking at 17 million. On the assumption, we're looking at 15 million. I think you have this already sized up with the supplemental. So that being the case, I really think, if there's one thing that we've been taught through the last 5 years is you want your debt to match your business plan. So in my opinion, if you were to have a 2 or 3 year hold or a shorter hold, I think bridge is more attractive. If you're going after this with a longer term approach, you want a lower basis, then maybe the assumption is the best route with the supplemental. But definitely, please, let's see what you have here.
Let's see what we got. So we took a look at this deal, sort of if you have a little bit more equity to place this year and you want to go a little bit longer term, you can do Fannie and Freddie. So you're going to be, 11.5 to 12 million on Fannie Freddie right now. And you might do a fixed rate on Fannie, it might be 325 to 3.5, depending on your prepayment penalty. And in Freddie Mac, they have a floating rate program that'll be 275 to 3 if you wanted a floater and have a flexible exit. So it has a 12-month lockout, then it goes to 1% prepay. And then what Wes was talking about was if you wanted to, like we had in the slide, about 600,000, 636,000 in rehab. You might have some additional items in there that you want to roll in. So I think we budgeted about 5,000 a door here on the rehab budget. So the recourse, non-recourse bridge, they're going to give you anywhere from 75 to 80% of the purchase price, and then about 100% of your rehab. And so you're looking at, you're about $2 million to $3 million more in loan proceeds on the non-recourse bridge. We're seeing those priced anywhere from probably about 325 to 3.5 right now, depending on the leverage, depending on the sponsorship group. And then those have a 3-year term, initial term, and then 2 1-year extensions, and they have a 1% prepay. So definitely reach out if you have any questions on these loan options about this property. And Wes, I know the deal's been out a little bit, maybe a couple weeks. Have you guys set a call for offers date on this deal yet?
Nothing officially as of yet. We need to get with the owners, but if we're targeting, it's going to be more than likely second or third week of October. So this month, a couple more weeks. But if you do want to schedule a tour, please feel free to reach out to me. Would love to get you out there. Takes about 30 minutes, 40 minutes to tour the property. So not a lot of time, but I would definitely encourage, if you're trying to get into DFW, or if you love Arlington, this is a great property to take a look at.
Well, Wes, I really appreciate your time, giving us a little bit more insight on the deal. And we will have we have your contact information here and then in the notes below. So if you guys need to set up a tour, I would go ahead and reach out to Wes and let him know and set up a tour next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Wes.
All right. Have a great day.
Okay.